All right, it is that time once again. We are previewing the upcoming 2023 college football season. With today's episode, we're going to be previewing the MAC, a conference that's near and dear to my heart. I am a MAC alum. I went to BG. Obviously, geographically speaking, it hits home with my guest, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Joey Knish. Joey Hardball, obviously. I'm sorry, I misspoke. I didn't know. But Knish, before we dive deep into these teams here in the MAC, how's your summer going? How many bets you got? And, how's it been? I know you're betting some hot dogs here.
Hey, listen, just got off the another nice year on the hot dog syndicate. But no, it's been. I think I'm lagging behind you on college football. Regular season wins and totals and game of year, but starting to heat up a bit, and I can feel it getting. And as you said, starting it off with the Mac Daddy of them all, baby. I know you're a big BG alum. I have been on. I know you are the summer tour man, but I have been on campus at around half the MAC schools. Some of those, in the college days, for a weekend. Some of those for a game. So yeah, no, it's this is a conference that I know we both love, and really, is there anything better than that first Tuesday MACtion, baby? I can't wait. I can't wait to see the 20 degrees and the Kalamazoo with 300 to 400 people in the stands for Western Michigan Ball State, baby. That's what we live for on this show.
Before we dive into the favorites here, let me remind everybody that Hit the Books is sponsored by BetStamp. The easiest way to improve as a sports bettor is to use multiple sports books and always get the best odds. We recommend using an odds comparison tool like BetStamp. BetStamp compares odds across every sports book for games, futures, and player props. Save time and money by checking BetStamp before you bet. Download the app today. If you're looking to sign up for a new sportsbook account, please check out the offers available at betstamp.app/hitthebooks or hit the link in the description. If you sign up through this page, it does help support the show. Let's get this show kick-started here. Let's start with the defending MAC champs, who I happen to think, and the market does as well, going to start off this season as the team to beat here in the MAC. When you look at returning production, who they have coming back, not only in the coaching staff, but also on the roster, it is the Toledo Rockets, a team that, even though they won the MAC last year, probably left a few wins available. This is a team that's lost 7 games the last 2 years as a touchdown plus favorite, and yet still, they can ride that talent to a MAC championship. DeQuan Finn's back at quarterback. Needs to be more consistent as a passer. Their top rusher, leading receivers back. The offensive line returns 4 starters. I mean, on paper, it's going to be one of the MAC's best offenses along with Ohio. On the defensive side of the ball, I'll say this. Up front is probably the biggest question mark for them. Secondary could be the best overall unit in the MAC. I'm not talking best secondary. I'm talking whether it's offensive line, running backs, receivers, linebackers. Toledo's secondary is elite at the group of 5 level. So there's a lot to like about this team. Schedule-wise, they're going to be favored in 11 of their 12 games. The only underdog role is going to be their first game against Illinois. What's your thoughts on the Rockets, Knish?
You know what? This is one where, going back years and years in the MAC, it has been the one conference, maybe a couple of the others, G5 as well, but the one conference where I had no problem sprinkling long dogs, where big-time underdogs going. It just seems like, and I'm sure maybe we can have Zach clip this for when Western Michigan wins this with the division.
Yeah.
It does seem like that Toledo has almost a walk-in with their division into the MAC championship game this year. With what, as you said, what they've got returning, their talent level compared to every other team in the MAC, established quarterback, returning starters on defense. They've always been a team just based on their geographical region that usually has the most talent overall in the MAC. And now you bring the most of it back with a number of other teams that we'll get to on their side of the division seemingly falling off, some former powers in the state I'm in that have fallen on some hard times. So yeah, it's one that just price wise, I know they're but usually between 150, 170 out there for the MAC. Again, does that make me want to run out and place a bet in July in that based on this conference? No, but it does seem like they are just far and away, especially in the West Division. I don't see a lot of pathways that they just don't get to the MAC championship game. It just seems like you can kind of maybe light ink them into the championship game this year, as they have a loaded roster and a lot of other fall off coming in that division.
I did bet them to win the MAC. I was able to get plus 215. I think anything 2-1 or greater. Last I checked, this was like a day ago, 2-1 available, William Hill, Caesar. So if you can grab that at 2-1, I think it's worthwhile, just because I think they're that much better than the rest of the league and specifically the rest of their division. So, yeah, if you can find 2-1 out there, look at our there it is.
No, I'd agree.
You can put me down for that one. That'll be official bet for old BP in this conference. I'll take 2-1 on Toledo.
I think I'm gonna join BP. I didn't see. I've been looking at so it did teach me not to look at the odds. But right before we go on here, I said 2-1 would have been a buy. Now there is a 2-1. So yeah, I would agree with that. I think worst case scenario, I think they're in the unless. Even if Finn goes down, they'd probably still be able to manufacture it to get to the title game. I think you'll be in the title game, and I think they'll be, at worst case, a short favorite in that game.
Yeah, let's talk about the team that they're probably likely to face. It might probably, when you look at the odds, we just had them up there. And, in my power ratings, the team that won the East Division a year ago, Ohio. You look at the Bobcats and what they have coming back. First off, Tim Albin did a really good job rebounding from a really poor first season. They turn around, they win 10 games. Ohio hasn't won the MAC since 1968. They have made 6 different MAC championship games, and they have yet to win one. They've been close. They've been knocking on the door. I will say this. You got to like Curtis Rourke, provided he's healthy. He got hurt at the end of last season. This is a team here that there's a lot to like. Rourke, in my opinion, is the best player in the MAC. 25 touchdowns, 4 interceptions a year ago. They got they had the MAC freshman of the year running back. He returns. Leading receivers back. Offensive line, 4 starters back there. So again, like Toledo, Ohio's offense, one of the best in the MAC. Lot of returning production there, especially if Rourke's healthy. You got to like that. The worry that I have is, the defensive line. I thought there are 2 big guys on the interior. They impressed me against Wyoming. I thought they held up well against that Wyoming rush attack in the bowl game. Both those guys are gone. Top 2 tacklers are back on defense. This is a good-looking football team. And, again, in power ratings-wise, they're the best team. I'm not, we're not, breaking ground here by, going with the 2 teams that played in the MAC championship a year ago. But, man, I like Ohio to come out of the East again. What say you, Knish?
Yeah, I think anytime, especially in this conference, when you've got what I would deem to be everything we've heard on Rourke is going to be good to go for the start of the season. We've obviously in some of our our summer look ahead bet Ohio for San Diego State. I think they've got, as you said, the best overall player in the conference at the most important position. A guy that probably has an NFL feud, not going to be a first rounder or anything, but I think he's going to get drafted. Probably makes an NFL roster. Anytime, if you kind of go back to the, in the history of the MAC, anytime a team has had that level of quarterback, I think it gives you a chance, regardless of the rest of the roster. I'll be honest, obviously there's some big question marks on their defense. The overall roster talent. I don't think they have, the talent level of a Toledo does outside the quarterback position. But when you've got the best player in the conference at the most important position, it gives them a chance. Now, obviously, they've got a much harder schedule than Toledo in the harder division. But, I would, it's a game. If they can get there, that, they are a very dangerous team. And I like the coaching move they've made there. And so, again, if Rourke can be himself, which by all indications we think he will be, I think they're live week 1, and I think they're live again for a MAC title.
Yeah, what's your thoughts? Because I can tell you my portfolio does include Ohio. I bet them plus 280 to win the MAC. I think if you go to DraftKings, you might be able to see a 280. Obviously, I stagger it with what team. I look at the portfolio and I bet a little bit more on the team. I obviously expected it to win it, but I did bet Ohio at exactly that price, plus 280. What do you think, Knish? Are we double dipping here and taking plus 280?
It's I mean, any other. This would be a year for like we're betting the two conference favorites in the MAC. You get like laughed out of the another room. I'd be like, "What are we doing here?" Like, I do what I don't. What is wrong? But I just think these are this like it's. I don't see a lot of other contenders in this conference. It seems like all. We'll get to it, but
Yeah.
teams like Western Michigan, Central Michigan, teams that have been dangerous for kind of years on end. Even Buffalo had there, and I know they're the third tier there. They've all just kind of taken us. It's hard to maintain at these MAC programs, kind of outside of Toledo. Anytime you have a coach with a pulse, or you can get a program rolling, your coach gets poached. So. Yeah, this is one that I just think it's as you're saying, it's a chalky year in the MAC. I think you've got the two teams that are far and away above the rest of the conference, and the West Division, absolute cakewalk for Toledo. So, yeah, I think you set yourself up in a good spot where, is one of these two, if you bet, you get a position on Toledo at 2-1, a position on Ohio at 280. Is one of those teams not going to make the MAC championship game, and then they're going to be a big favorite unless they're going head-to-head. So, yeah, I think it's a smart portfolio move there.
Let's talk about some of the contenders that can maybe knock these teams off. And I have bet a couple more, but obviously at much lower amounts than what I did the two favorites. I'll keep it in the East with Miami, Ohio. Team I kind of like a little bit here. And look, non-conference, they leave a lot to be desired. It's not like – it's almost like they don't even try in the non-conference. But, man, the last 7 years in the MAC, they're 33-18 under Chuck Martin. I'll say this. I think they're a little undervalued this year. I did take them over 6.5 wins. I believe that was something I gave out right here on this show on Hit the Books. And reason I like Miami, Ohio is this is a team here that, was playing with a freshman quarterback. You had Gabbert was supposed to be the quarterback all last year. He gets injured early. You got a kid that can't really throw the ball. They're both back. They add in Maddox Kopp, a Colorado transfer. No matter who's going to be the starter quarterback, they're going to get better production. I worry about the wide receiver position, but I think the pair of running backs will be fine. I think the defense is one of the best in the MAC. I think not necessarily that I think they'll win it, but man, at 9-1, that's worth a pizza bet in my opinion. That's the team, at least in my power ranks, that I think can give Ohio the best shot. 9-1 on Miami, Ohio, and that also is available DraftKings.
Yeah, this is one. If you look around at some of the whether it be the public models, the S&P Plus, or some of the the summer publications, that a number of those have Miami actually rated higher than Ohio. I just think the ceiling with Rourke is too high
Agree.
for me to put them over it, but. This would be the team that, S&P Plus or any of the would be, they've kind of come around on the defense and their coaching staff, I think, is up there. Do I really, from a ceiling team, whether it be the talent level and their skill corps and just, the quarterback position, can they stay healthy? Again, it was an offense that was, quite underwhelming and would need a big jump for me to, I think, get to the contender status. Again, if you're getting there, I'm not going to talk anybody off. A little bit of, as you said, a sprinkle up there, as it's, I would say one of, maybe two teams outside of the, the big two that I think could make it there. It's just not a team that I've outside of tailing you on the Wrigley win have invested a lot in. I think the ceiling is quite limited in terms of what they can be. But hey, as far as if you're buying a price out there on one of the two that could actually get to a MAC title game, this is probably the team.
Yeah, I think it's a high floor, low ceiling, if that makes sense. I don't think there's a lot of variance. I do like their schedule. I think they got 2 slam dunk wins in non-conference. I think they could be favored as many as 8 games. They're usually right around the mix. They have, been to a MAC title game recently when Gabbert was a freshman. So if you're looking for a team outside the top 2, this would be one. Let's talk maybe another one. I really respect this coach, and you're going to be familiar because it's right in your neck of the woods. Chris Creighton in Eastern Michigan, I don't think ever gets enough credit for what he's doing there. Do I think they can win the MAC? No, but if there's a team that can maybe contend a little bit with Toledo, might be them. I mean, already year 10 for Chris Creighton. Last year, they won 9 games for the second time in school history. They signed the best recruiting class in the MAC, so that's saying something for the boys at Ypsilanti. Yeah, I think, and when you look at this program, I mean, Austin Smith started 4 games a year ago. He was leading them against Arizona State. I like their running back. Samson Evans can play. Worried a little bit on the offense line on the left side. Like their linebacker. What say you, Knish, on Eastern Michigan?
Let me tell you something. If you we grew up with Eastern Michigan being like the kids these days know like UConn and UMass as like the programs that
Eastern
win
Michigan,
one game over the course of 5 years. That was Eastern Michigan for most of from my teenage years up until the late 20s, where they just they were winning like a handful of games over the course of 5 years. And then you factor that the recruiting. I can't believe that nobody has scooped up Creighton in terms of coming of what he's done there. Has been incredible. I know, let me tell you, this is a man that's been to Ypsilanti a number of times. Not a place not a place that on your summer stadium tour that you're going to love to spend a lot of time. I think there's.
I was there last summer.
Yeah, well, it's if you can't afford to live in Ann Arbor, you get a cheap place and you tell all your friends you live in Ann Arbor. That's how it happens around there. So, again, it almost reminds me of the Kansas State years under the famous coach name escaping me at the moment, but where the talent level and their ATS performance and their power, like they outperform their roster every single year. And that's what Eastern Michigan has been doing the last few years, where it's like, I don't really love the guys on the team. I don't think they match up that well, but somehow they're going in. I mean, they're playing Power 5 programs competitively and winning these MAC games that they're, huge dogs in. So it's one that they're consistently overperforming everything, their money, their facilities, their talent level, even the recruiting rankings this year. So I get it. It's not a team that I've wagered on or gone in on again, in the summer here, but a team that it's hard to say that they can't do it or it can't be that dog with the coaching staff they have.
Yeah, I mean, I have gone in a little bit on them. I have played over 6.5 wins a little bit. Maybe you can still find if you shop hard. Maybe DraftKings last I saw. You're going to have to lay some juice on that one. I do worry they did. I mean, they lost a couple of draft picks. That's telling you that they're really starting to develop these guys. They had a couple of draft picks from this roster, but I did get a little bit involved. And you know what? If you want to take a shot, I mean, a pizza bet, maybe even on a future, I think plus like 8-10 or something like that. So it's in my portfolio. I can tell you that. Let's talk some other schools that maybe possibly can make a run. I just don't see too much of it this year in the MAC. I say that, and we're going to have an Akron versus Northern Illinois MAC championship game. But speaking of Northern Illinois, if you want to talk about a high variance team, look no further than this program. 0 wins to a MAC championship, back to 3 wins a year ago. I mean, where's the reality for this program? I'm guessing it's somewhere in the middle. I think it's a big positive that you get Rocky Lombardi back. Keep in mind he got hurt a year ago. Their top wideout got hurt. He's back. All 5 starters back on the offensive line. This is a program that I think is much improved, but man, the market's all over this. I mean, they opened it up at 6.5. I thought that was expecting a little too much. I'm not a big fan of the coach. Did you get involved on Northern Illinois at all?
No, I'm kind of leaning your way there, where I just thought some of the early, Northern Illinois, nothing was super attractive to me. It was one that I think as you said, kind of the openers were on top of a team that, Rocky Lombardi is, a quarterback that, can look good at times. Not someone who's I'm getting behind to think they can, pull off and then be kind of this, dark horse team. Probably, a tier above some of the bottom teams in the West Division. Yeah. You probably have them, fighting Eastern Michigan there for the team that is going to finish behind Toledo. Again, so they have some of the, like you said, the returning pieces on the offensive line, but it's just a team where, again, not a ton of playmakers. Can they get a a miracle win versus Toledo to kind of revive their hopes there? But I think they're more of the team that's closer to the 3-9 than the MAC championship miracle run there. So if they improved a bit, it wouldn't surprise me. But I don't see the ceiling here for me to. I didn't put anything on futures or any of that.
I didn't either. 25-1's as far as you can find right now. I did play under 6.5. Again, I thought that was expecting too much for them year over end improvement. Let's talk Central Michigan. Another team took a big step back a year ago. The Chips under McElwain, I thought were going to take the leap. I mean, if you watch this team 2 years ago, they get moved to the Sun Bowl. They're playing Washington State, and they physically manhandle a Pac-12 team in the Sun Bowl. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, Jim McElwain's going to have the best program in the MAC here. And then last year happens. They get a lot of injuries. They can't figure out the quarterback position. I'm not sure they still figured it out. They got a dynamic athlete in that Bert Emanuel kid. I mean, last we saw him, he was running for almost 300 yards, but yet I think only attempted eight total passes in 4 games. So they're going to be so one-dimensional. I don't like the skill position. I don't see them making some massive jump back to where they were a couple years ago. Again, I think like Northern Illinois, right around 500 for this program. They're clearly behind Toledo there in the West.
Yeah, I mean, this is, as you said, in line for one of the most disappointing teams in all of college football last year. And Jim McElwain probably cost himself, a shot at getting back into, like the Power 5 after that season. They were so, like, if you looked at some of their games, I mean, I remember watching a number of their games last year. It was like, like all they could do was run the Wildcat. And by the time, like, everyone figured that out, I mean, it's just one of those, like, the Wildcat and how to defend it was diagnosed, you can't rely, maybe if this was, 2007, when you could line people like, wait, what is going on? But they just got to the point last year where they had 0 passing attack. So can that be modified this summer? Can they, change the offense a bit? But I mean, there were some games where it was just, like run, 3 and out for the entire game. And they just had no other options. And so, I mean, Emmanuel, dynamic athlete, but the defense was not good. McElwain, oh my God, is there a coach that is, gone, up and down there in terms of, his stock from his entire career? It would be the one team that, based on some, maybe, if I'm thinking that last year they had some injuries, they couldn't figure out the offense on the fly. The one team that I would say, if I'm going to find, the highest number in terms of maybe they could reach a ceiling with some of the players on the set. I haven't bet it yet.
Yeah.
Maybe I will find it's in my consideration for a long shot sprinkle. Just based on, I think, that very high ceiling, low floor type of team that I would think would more be on the floor. But I might be sprinkling a little bit of price here. It's a team I've got my eye on. But man, it's hard to get the taste out of your mouth last year in terms of just what they looked like in some games, which was brutal.
35-1 at Circa. The good old Circa. Yeah, there you go, Knish. I'll we'll chat after this and see. I could see it. Yeah, I could see it. And again, this is a conference that historically you see teams go up and down. But man, I'd like to have a more of a known commodity at quarterback as far as throwing the football. I don't think that's the case, at least right now. And I'm also worried, non-conference, Michigan State, Notre Dame, South Alabama. Man, if you get banged up a little bit, I'm not sure they got a lot of quality depth. Let's hit some of these other programs. We can hit them a little bit faster. We'll stay in the West. Ball State, a team that, won the MAC in the 2020 COVID season. And, haven't been the same since. That was kind of an outlier season like we've seen some of these other conferences, like a Northwestern, Indiana, and the Big Ten jumped up that year, and they haven't recaptured the magic. But Ball State, a lot of close games a year ago, 8 of their 12 games decided by 1 score. They lost a ton to the transfer portal, starting quarterback Paddock. Carson Steele goes to UCLA. He was their best player at running back. They do get, the transfer taketh and also give it at quarterback. I think they might actually upgrade it at quarterback in the transfer portal, getting that Lane Hatcher kid from Texas State. He's been everywhere. I mean, originally an Alabama commit. They get the second leading rusher in the MAC, Cooper from Kent State, in the transfer portal. So there's some pieces here. Will they contend for the MAC title? No. But I thought some of the early markets out there were probably a little too pessimistic on them. I did bet over 4.5. It wasn't one of my favorite positions, but I guess I think it's a 5-7, 6-6 type team.
Yeah, a team that, kind of a snoozer type team here that probably, again, kind of falls into that, like mid to bottom tier of the MAC. Don't think they have enough talent to really, pull enough upsets there. Can kind of, they, play some of an uglier type of football under Mike New here, and it just, again, keeping games close, doing what they can here to eke out some wins, but not a team that I that's what interests me in terms of a ceiling that they could win a MAC title or any of that. So, a little bit of traction there in the early numbers in terms of their real season win total. And again, I agree with you that I don't think they've taken much of a downgrade at the quarterback, if any, position. But again, losing their best player on a team that does not recruit particularly well or have a lot of high level talent. If anything, again, I think they're going to try and play a boring brand of football, keep a lot of games close, and maybe get to a bowl game would be kind of the ceiling for them.
Let's talk another team that was in a bowl game last year. Surprised me in the bowl game. It was Buffalo. Second straight year, they've signed the best overall class if you're counting recruiting and transfers. Lindquist, who was at Michigan there, brought in 70 players the last 2 years. He's doing a good job overturning the roster. They lost a pair of really good wide receivers, in my opinion. That was their two best players offensively. Snyder at quarterback's fine. They lose James Patterson, a linebacker, but Dolak's back after notching nearly 150 tackles. This was a team that I thought was the markets were a little too optimistic on. I did take under 7. I'm not sure if it's an 8-4 team. I think they're 7-5 at absolute best. Again, I think we're going to see a lot of these MAC teams hover right around 6-6 this year. So anytime I could take a position where I thought it was, a half game, 3/4 of a game, even in some instances, a full game off, this was a team I'm a little bit more pessimistic on. What say you?
Yeah, you know what? I like Mo Linguist, obviously a guy that was at Michigan very briefly before he got the Buffalo job. I think he's a charismatic guy, a good program guy, bringing in talent. I think it's a program around the world. In terms of, though, the actual coaching acumen, Buffalo had a number of games last year where, I think they had a higher ceiling, kind of underperformed, even though getting to 7-6. I don't know if they can really reach the potential in terms of being a MAC champion. I don't love what they have at Cole Snyder at the quarterback position. Again, it's a team that I'd probably be looking to buy on maybe a year from now when maybe Toledo and Ohio aren't so entrenched at the top of the MAC as he continues to accumulate talent. As you said, he's reached out to the transfer portal. I like him as a program manager. I don't know at either of their coordinator spots and the quarterback position that there's enough for me there to think this team can get to an 8-9 wins or compete for a MAC championship. So I didn't take a position on their regular season win total. Not someone who I'm looking to buy on in the futures market, since they're pretty much around kind of the third tier option there. So I agree with you that if anything for me, it's a little bit overvalued, but a team to monitor that. It's just, if I'm looking, if I want to bet outside of Toledo or Ohio, I'm not going to Buffalo there at their prices, the 6 or the 8-1 or any of that. It's just, I don't think their ceiling's that high. I would rather, do more of the pizza action on a couple of teams that one, Central we talked about there, and another one I'm sure we'll hit on. It's just not enough meat on the bone to really back Buffalo for me.
So we got 4 teams left, bottom barrel of the league: Western Michigan, Akron, Bowling Green, and Kent State. I've taken positions on all of them, and I'll see, what's one of your strongest positions. We don't have to deep dive these teams, but I do not like Western Michigan under 4.5. If you can find that, it was available at FanDuel. that was one of my favorite best bets that season win totals that I made. I just so much turnover and a roster and a coaching staff that doesn't have not long on experience, to say it lightly. Bowling Green under 5.5. I loved it. It was my favorite season win total bet that I made. Can't find it anymore. It's long gone. It's like 4.5. This is how much I like 5.5. I would still lean under 4.5 on BG. I think they regressed. They were a very fortunate team to make a bowl game a year ago. Kent State is going to be the worst team in the MAC, but they're priced that way. 2.5 win total, one of the lowest win totals in all of college football. I wanted to go under, but I was expecting to get 3.5. Never got there. It's at 2.5, so I didn't bet it. And then the one team I do want to maybe talk about, if there's a real long shot that I think has some upside, and Zach can dive into the win total here. If we can still find a 3.5, that's going to be my best bet. I like Akron. They started flashing, pun intended on their rival Kent State, but they really started looking the part at the end of last season, even without DJ Irons at quarterback. Yeah. He gets hurt. They blow out Northern Illinois. They have nothing to play for against Buffalo. Buffalo has everything to play for, and Akron should have beaten them on the road as a double-digit underdog. I mean, they lost 5 games by 1 score a year ago, so they were really close to breaking through a year ago. If there's one team that's high variance as far as they can go from 2 wins to bowl eligibility, I think it's Akron. I love if you can find over 3.5, there you go. I mean, I love that minus 105. That's even a little bit better price than I got. That'll be my best bet over 3.5. What say you, Knish?
I am totally with you. It was the one team that I have already placed. I haven't fired on the Central Michigan future. I did fire on some Akron.
What price did you get?
50-1 was a 50-1, and again.
Canby books 50-1. I'm okay. Yeah. If you want to put a pizza bet on that, I think that's.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think 50-1 is worth it. His favorite long shot of the conference. Again, I think offense could be absolutely electric. An offense that I feel bad. Joe Moorhead, hey, he can still dial it up a little bit, baby. Yeah. DJ Irons, as you said, back. They've got some talent at the skill position. The defense is probably bad. I think it would need to be less bad for this bad for them to get there. But in a conference where if you have one great unit, I think that can have a chance to carry you in that, especially with in these divisions. So for me, yeah, I like Akron. I like the over 3.5. Me and the franchise Kyle, franchise KF, a friend of the show, have a little bit. We went head to head. He went Kent State over. I went Kent State under. So again, not one that 2.5. It gets who do you trust there? So we went a little head to head. I just think Kent State's got a chance to maybe not win a game this year after losing their starting quarterback, their head coach. It was a team that again. Mass exodus in the transfer portal.
Zero returning starters on offense. Zero. I've never seen that.
But Kenny Burn. I tell you, I don't know. I had actually never heard of Kenny Burn before he got hired. But God bless him. Whatever they're paying, it's not enough to take that job. So, I think this is going to be just a really rough season, year one, Kent State. So. I'd be surprised. I think getting to 3, honestly, if they won 3, I think that'd be like any more than that, you can give him the coach of the year. So, I like Akron over. Kent State was an under for me. Western Michigan, a program that should be a perennial, MAC contender, just falling on hard times. I saw friend of Brad Powers, friend of the show, Mr. Colin from Action Network, had them as an underdog in all 12 games in his power ratings, which included, I think they play one FCS game.
St. Francis.
Yeah, which I wouldn't have them an underdog in that game. But hey, maybe some people. So I don't think they're going to be that bad. But yeah, as you said, a team that's fallen on some hard teams and needs a full rebuild. So bottom of the MAC there. Hopefully our boys, the Zips, can be a little feisty this year. But the rest of those 3 were all unders for me.
Yeah, I think, not too good of a look for any of those besides Akron at the bottom of the conference. So I'm glad we agreed on the Zips. Any closing thoughts on the MAC? I want to keep this close to a half hour when people start seeing, hour-long podcast on the MAC and previews. They might not click. So I try to keep it short and sweet here. But Akron over 3.5. A couple of futures on Toledo and Ohio. Maybe sprinkle a little bit on, Zips is a long shot. Central Michigan is a long shot. Maybe Miami, Ohio for a medium-sized shot there. Any closing thoughts, Knish?
No, I like it. Hey, I think we've got it just feels like a chalky type of year in a conference that's usually not very chalk. But hey, we'll see. I think if you can, taking the favorite there, couple of small sprinkles on Akron and maybe Central, and I think you've got we've got a nice MAC portfolio built there, going into the year.
As always, make sure you're hitting the like and subscribe button wherever you're tuning in here, whether it be YouTube or any of your podcast channels. For the one, the only, Mr. Joey Knish. For our outstanding producer, Zach Phillips, I am merely Brad Powers. You just watched the MAC preview. Hit the books, part of the Hammer Betting Network.